It is in this regard that we decided to develop protocols that are going to be used by truck drivers in order to curtail the spread of coronavirus. Looking at the number of cases that are developing, for example, in Mombasa, and where the port is, then it's highly likely then that the truck drivers, the turn boys and the loaders are likely to import that COVID-19 from Mombasa across the transport corridor and all the way to our neighbors. So in order to curtail this, we developed protocols in consultation with our neighboring countries. And indeed, you must report here that in the last 2 weeks, there have been a series of meetings between the East African Ministers of Health and East African Affairs. And these protocols then have been agreed upon by all these neighboring states. And in a nutshell, what the guidelines entail is that for any truck driver who starts his journey today must have had a test 48 hours before starting the journey. So if you are a truck driver and you intend to travel to Malaba tomorrow, you may not do this because there will be checkpoints along the way that will be checking whether you have been tested and confirmed COVID negative. So what the protocols then advise is that before any driver starts his travel, make sure that you have your COVID test done 48 hours in advance. Why 48 hours? Because of the method you're using for testing, the real-time PCR, it takes about 24 hours to release your results. So we do not want to delay your travel waiting for your results. So if you did your sampling 48 hours in advance, you'll have your results 24 hours again before you start your journey. And you'll be able to travel through the transport corridor with ease. Along the corridor then, there will be checkpoints where your certificate will be checked. So once you get your sample corrected, results released in 24 hours, the results will be read to the Ministry of Health, and you'll be issued with an attestation of testing confirming that indeed you are COVID negative. And you shall travel with your attestation along the transport corridor, and it will be checked along certain checkpoints. We will highlight to you in the guidelines where the checkpoints will be placed. We have, in that respect, therefore, placed a number of testing centers also along the transport corridor, because not all journeys are going to start in Mombasa. Should you start your journey in Kisumu, there should be a testing facility in Kisumu. So we have placed testing facilities where samples will be collected in the following areas. In Mombasa, we have Miritini Municipal Dispensary. In Nairobi, we have the Red North Health Center and the South B Clinic. In Kisumu, we have Ahero County Hospital. In Migori, we have Migori County Referral Hospital. In Eldoret, we have set up a mobile testing facility, and also you can use a Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. In Nakuru, you may use a Provincial General Hospital Nakuru and Naivasha Hospital. Indeed, we did a piloting on Friday and did our initial testings in Naivasha on Friday. In Kilifi, you can use Kilifi KMTC. In Kwale, you have the Kwale Sub-County Hospital, Msambweni County Referral Hospital, and Kinango Hospital. In Machakos, again, we have a Mlolongo Mobile Sample Collection Center. In Wajir, we have the Wajir County Hospital, and in Marsabit, we have the Marsabit County Referral Hospital. We will be setting up more centers as we go along. Those are the ones that we have set up initially to facilitate truck drivers to test either on the way or as they start their journeys in those points. For those crossing the border, we are required then that if you're traveling from Uganda with your truck, upon arrival at the border, you are supposed also to present a certificate from the country that you started your journey. As long as that certificate is within 14 days, it will be taken as valid. However, we shall still take another sample for verification, because a COVID negative certificate, on the other hand, apparently, does not confirm that you could be COVID negative forever. You could have picked up this infection along the way. So it's only an assurance that at least you are negative at the time you started your journey. So you'll take another sample, but because you had been tested, we shall allow you to proceed. But along the way, you can be stopped once you get your results. It is therefore important that the port health officers at the border points have been urged to increase their vigilance, and surveillance is at an high level within these border points. So temperatures will be recorded, and any symptoms of COVID will be recorded at the border point. You will then be required to fill your self-quarantine form. What do we mean by this? That along the transport corridor, you'll be allowed to stop only at certain designated points where we have placed public health officers who will monitor your travel. And at the back of that form, you're supposed to keep, the public authority is supposed to record your findings on that form and check that your certificate is still valid. Otherwise, we refer you to the next testing facility. So we have also placed testing facilities, therefore, at Lunga Lunga entry point, Taveta, Namanga, Busia, Malaba, Isebania, Moyale, and Moyale points of entry. And all the truckers operating along this transport corridor, regardless of whether they will cross the border or not, will be required to hold a valid attestation letter and monitored then from there on at the various checkpoints. At your designated stopovers, you will encounter public health officers who will again be able to monitor you, and should you develop symptoms along the transport corridor, they will be able to link you with the county rapid response teams and refer you to quarantine facilities or isolation centers. The designated stopovers that we have managed to get so far for the truck drivers traveling along the Busia-Mombasa Road, we have a point in Busia, Gilgil, Murologo, and Mariakani. If you are in Busia, if you go through the guidelines, they will say the current guest house and the Dasa guest house have been approached and they have negotiated rates for you for your self-quarantine. You shall not use any other facility beyond this. And you're supposed to observe the self-quarantine procedures as outlined before. Those operating between Maraba and Mombasa, you have a stopover in Malaba, you can stop over in Gilgil again, Murorongo, or Mariakani. You are not allowed to stop over at any other point. For those operating between Namanga and Nairobi, the only stopover allowed is Mulolongo. And for those operating between Isebania, Kisumu, Nairobi, Mai Mahiu is also allowed, and the Toto Junction, Mau Summit. For those between Maraba and Nairobi, you can stop over in Webuye, but there is no sleeping facility in Webuye. These guidelines will be available online at www.health.go.ke as early as 9 a.m. tomorrow for further reference. Let me stop there, CSR, unless there are any questions.
We'll take the questions later.